Welcome to this session on customizing the sheet linked to the Dynamic View seed. So in this session, we will update the sheet, which is linked to the ARC floor plan Dynamic View seed, and we will incorporate our new title block, our project border, and look at how to adjust the sheet size. So I'm going to again hover my cursor over the marker. The yellow marker is always the marker that belongs to this particular drawing, and then when the mini toolbar pops up, I'm going to select that ARC floor plan sheet and then open the target, and that will open to that drawing set up on a sheet. Now, since we copied the delivered templates, it's actually referencing the border that's in the regional data set. I want to switch that to the project border. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up to the references icon and select references to open the reference dialog. And I just want to switch this border here, this ArcF border, which was the default one, and I'm going to change to my project border. So I'm going to browse. Now the project border we put in a work set, since each work set would want to have their own custom border. So I'm going to go to my P drive where I'm storing projects, open up that project template that I created. Go to the standards folder. Under the seed folder, I had a borders folder. And that's where I put the project border. So I'm going to select that as the reference. Make sure you don't select save relative path. We want to just set this as the reference. The reference pathing for the work set will then find the correct project border depending on the work set that is active. I'm going to select open. You'll notice it indicates that's the 30 by 42 inch border. We're going to attach that full size. Our sheets are typically full size, meaning it's 30 inches by 42 inches, and the drawing will be scaled when it's referenced to the sheet. We don't need any nesting, and we'll go ahead and select OK. We'll close that. And now you can see I've got the project border that I set up attached with some of that text that I added and the modifications that I made to the border. I had also earlier changed the detailing symbol style on the drawing title. If you remember, we opened the properties dialog and just changed that detailing symbol style to the XYZ default. So you want to make sure to do that if you haven't already done that for this sheet. The second thing we can do is change this drawing boundary. That's the actual box here. And for instance, I could make it the full size of the sheet area here that's within the title border. And then my plans would always come centered in that drawing boundary. But I can also have multiple drawing boundaries per sheet. So for instance, if you typically put 2 floor plans on a sheet or for a particular project, you might be doing that. You could create 2 drawing boundaries on this sheet, and then when you create your drawings or your dynamic views, you'll be able to switch to select which half of the sheet the drawing needs to go into. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to extend this, and I'll just go to the halfway point there on the border, and I think I'll just come up here about 1 inch from the bottom. And I can move my actual title block. And even though it looks like it's going to move that rectangle, it will not. But I can center that there, and then we'll go up 1 inch as well. And then I can actually select that drawing boundary and copy it. And then do a copy from and a copy to. And now you can see I've got 2 drawing boundaries on that sheet. And they're numbered 1 and 2. And when you create your floor plans, then you'll be able to select which portion of the sheet you want to place the drawing in. The other thing we're going to take a look at is some sheet model properties. So I'm going to go up to my models dialog and just select this sheet and open the information there. That'll open the properties dialog. So a couple of things you might adjust here on the general tab. The line style scale is set to a global line style. You might wish to set that to an annotation scale so that it uses the annotation scale. Update fields automatically set to true means any text fields will be automatically updated. You could also go to this grid settings here. So this actually sets up that embedded grid that's in the view attributes. If I were to go to my view attributes here and turn on this grid in the presentation, and then we could change this. Since this is such a small size, since it's actual size, full size, we might want that grid master, for instance, to be on 1 inch, and then have a reference every 6 inches. Just gives you something to kind of snap to as you're setting up your sheets. And then, of course, if you turn on your grid lock, you would actually be able to snap to those grid points. Now on the sheet properties, we do want to show the sheet boundary. We're putting a sheet number in here that will get reset when new sheets are created. We want to make sure this border attachment is linked to our border, the project border. And so long as this is the correct sheet size, then there's no need to change this. And then the last thing we could do is to go ahead and add some text on these sheets, for example, for a sheet number and for a sheet title. And we could use text fields for these so they automatically infill. Now, if I'm not interested in having this text sheet number, 1 of 1 or something like that, you might just want to activate that border file. Remember, you can activate a reference file. And then I could go ahead and delete that. I'm actually deleting it from the border sheet. And then once I've done that, I can simply deactivate that, and I'm now working in my active sheet file again. But if I wanted to put the sheet number down here, if you remember, the sheet number was one of those model properties, and so we can put that in as a text field, and then it will fill in with whatever is set in the model properties. So I'm going to set my active level, have the AccuDraw focus on. I can just use a shortcut key in, which is Q1, brings up my level attributes, and I'm going to change my active level to Giano title. And I'll go up to the drawing production. We're going to place text. I'm going to set my style to the XYZ drawing title that was set up earlier. And then I'm going to add a text field that says insert field icon. And we're going to use a model property. So I have a dialog here from which I can choose any number of model properties. And if we go down again to our sheet properties, we had this sheet number property. So I'm going to select that one. I can set the case. I could make it always upper. You can see how that previews AXXX because that's what's in here. And we'll select OK. I can actually change my justification here on the text editor. So if I want to do that centered, or maybe centered about a baseline, go ahead and set that. I'm going to actually turn off that grid lock that I had turned on. So I want it centered there. Of course, I can use and if I use the O to reset the origin of the AccuDraw, then I can bring this down maybe 3/4 of an inch. Now, if I'd like that text a little bigger than what's shown there, I can always just use a change text attributes and open this up. And rather than change the style, all I need to change is the height and the width. So maybe instead of 7/32, I want 3/8. And it will only change attributes that I have checked on here. So we'll go ahead and select that. And by having that text field on the actual sheet, every time I create a new sheet, it will already be numbered based on the number that gets populated in the model properties. I could do the same here for the sheet title and use the model name. So I'm just going to do the same thing, use my place text. In this case, I might want to leave that at 7/32 or 1/4. Again, I'm going to use a text field. I'm going to use model properties. And this time I'm just going to select the model name from the General tab. Again, we'll do all uppercase, select OK. And we can actually set up a word wrap block to place that, and I could just use this entire block here and change my justification, in this case, to the center. Now you could place additional text using text fields for things such as who last saved the file, when it was last saved, the last plot date, etc. Those are all different properties that could be found under the text fields. We're going to be placing this text again on another sheet, so it might be nice to just create a cell so we can easily populate the sheet with that. So again, on the Drawing Production tab, we do have our cells group. And if I go ahead and open up the cell library, this is how I can create a new cell. Now I want to select a library to place it in. So if you don't already have a company library, you could just simply create a new one. Note, by default, it's going to locate it in the project. Perhaps, since our templates are in the workspace, we'll put this in the workspace as well. We'll come up to C configuration, go to the workspaces, the XYZ workspace. We'll go to the standards, and we'll go to the cell folder, and we'll create a new cell library. We'll just call it cells XYZ and save that. So now we're in that library, and now we can create a new cell. Now you'll notice this is grayed out. So I'm just going to create a selection set of the two pieces of text that I want in the cell. And then I need to define a cell origin. So there's an icon down here which is define cell origin. And I'm going to use just the bottom corner of the sheet, make it easy to place in a new sheet. That puts a little cross there in my drawing, and once I have that placed, the create cell icon will highlight. I can go ahead and create it. I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it border text description, border text for title block. Make sure it's a graphic cell, and then we'll select create. We'll go ahead and close that dialog. I'll do a fit view and then Control F to save my settings. And you would want to go through that process for each of the drawing templates, the drawing and the sheet that you intend to customize and modify for your library of drawing templates. So your drawing sheet is now complete and could be used when creating new plan views. In the next session, we'll do one more thing, which is to create just a blank sheet seed that will match this sheet setup, so that when you have to just create a sheet, you'll have the same seed.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.